Arrival on Earth. Lyra and Nyx stepped off the spacecraft and onto the surface of Earth, their eyes wide with curiosity. They had heard stories about this small blue planet, tucked away in a quiet corner of the galaxy, but nothing could have prepared them for the vibrant life that surrounded them. The air was rich with smells and sounds, completely different from their home world of Zeria. Even the sky, with its soft blue hue, felt unfamiliar. "Everything is so alive," Nyx whispered, glancing at Lyra with awe in her purple eyes. Lyra nodded, equally mesmerized. The two alien women were part of a cultural exchange program designed to build friendships between Earth and Zeria. They had been chosen for this mission because of their open minds and curious spirits. Lyra, with her graceful movements and deep green skin, had always been fascinated by other species. Nyx, shorter and more mischievous, with silvery hair and bright lavender skin, was eager for adventure. Their human host, Emma, was waiting for them at the landing site, holding a small sign that read, "Welcome to Earth." She was an average human, with a warm smile, brown hair tied in a ponytail, and dressed casually in jeans and a jacket. Her bright eyes gleamed with excitement as she saw the two aliens approach. "Welcome, welcome," Emma called out enthusiastically, waving her hand. "You must be Lyra and Nyx. I'm so happy to meet you both." Lyra stepped forward and extended her hand in the way humans did when greeting each other. "It's an honor to be here. We've been looking forward to this exchange for a long time." Emma shook Lyra's hand, and then Nyx's, who smiled broadly. "I hope you're ready for a fun time on Earth," Emma said cheerfully. "We've got a lot to explore, and I'm excited to show you everything." As they began walking toward Emma's vehicle, Nyx couldn't stop looking around. The trees, the birds, the insects, everything seemed so strange to her. Zeria was a place of sleek cities and controlled environments. Nature, as she was seeing it now, was almost wild. "So, what do you two know about Earth?" Emma asked as they climbed into the car. "We've read about your cities and technologies," Lyra replied, her voice calm and thoughtful. "But we've never seen anything like this." She gestured out the window as they drove past the bustling city streets filled with humans going about their daily lives. Cars honked, people talked on their phones, and street vendors shouted about their goods. It was noisy, chaotic, but in an oddly fascinating way. Nyx leaned closer to the window, pressing her face against the glass. "I didn't expect it to be so energetic. Everything is moving all the time." Emma laughed. "Yeah, Earth can be pretty busy, but it's got its quieter places too. Don't worry. My home is outside the city, in a peaceful neighborhood. You'll get to experience both sides of Earth." As they drove further from the city, the landscape began to change. The towering buildings were replaced by trees and open fields. The noise of the city faded into the background, and soon they were driving through a quiet residential area. Emma's home was a modest but charming house surrounded by a garden. The grass was neatly trimmed, and colorful flowers lined the walkway to the front door. "This is where you'll be staying," Emma said as she parked the car and stepped out. Lyra and Nyx followed her, their eyes scanning the house and garden with interest. It was so different from the sleek, metallic homes on Zeria. Inside, the house was cozy and filled with personal touches. There were framed pictures on the walls, soft furniture, and a faint smell of flowers in the air. Lyra admired the simplicity and warmth of the place, while Nyx was drawn to the odd gadgets and decorations scattered around. Emma gave them a quick tour of the house, showing them the kitchen, living room, and their guest room. But when they reached the bathroom, Lyra and Nyx stopped in their tracks. "What is that?" Nyx asked, pointing to the glass-enclosed structure in the corner. Emma chuckled. "That's a shower." Lyra raised an eyebrow. "A shower? What does it do?" Emma smiled and stepped into the bathroom, opening the glass door. "You stand in here, and water falls from above to wash you. It's a pretty normal part of human life." Nyx tilted her head, intrigued. Water falls from above. That sounds interesting. Lyra nodded in agreement. On Zeria, we use sonic waves to clean ourselves. This is something entirely different. Emma laughed. Well, you'll get to try it out soon enough. It's actually pretty relaxing. The two alien women exchanged curious glances. They had come to Earth to experience human culture, and this was definitely going to be something new. Lyra smiled softly, looking forward to the experiences ahead. For now, they were just beginning to understand the human world, but already Earth had surprised them in ways they hadn't expected. And deep down, they both knew that the journey was just getting started. The first shower. Lyra and Nyx stood in the bathroom, staring at the shower with a mix of curiosity and uncertainty. It was an unusual concept for them, water falling from above to cleanse the body. On their home planet of Zeria, sonic waves did the work of cleaning, with no need for water. The idea of water washing over them was intriguing, but also a little daunting. Emma, standing nearby with a reassuring smile, gestured toward the shower. Go ahead, give it a try. It's not complicated. Just turn the handle, and the water will start. Nyx, the more adventurous of the two, took the lead. She stepped into the shower enclosure, feeling the smooth, cold tiles beneath her feet. This is different, she murmured, running her hands over the unfamiliar material. Lyra stood just outside, watching intently. Are you sure it's safe? She asked, concern in her voice. Emma chuckled. I promise, it's perfectly safe. Humans use showers every day. With a shrug, Nyx decided to go for it. She turned the handle, and a soft spray of water began to fall from the shower head above her. At first, she gasped as the cool water touched her skin, but then, as it warmed up, she relaxed. The sensation of water streaming over her body was strangely soothing. Lyra observed with wide eyes as the water soaked Nyx's lavender skin and silvery hair. It looks refreshing, she said tentatively. Nyx laughed, her voice echoing in the small enclosure. It feels wonderful. You have to try this, Lyra. Encouraged by Nyx's excitement, Lyra stepped into the shower beside her. The water was warm, cascading over her deep green skin like a gentle rain. She closed her eyes, letting the water flow over her head and down her back. It was nothing like the sterile sonic waves they used back on Zeria. This was natural, calming, and oddly intimate. This is amazing, Lyra whispered. I never imagined something so simple could feel so good. Nyx tilted her head back, allowing the water to run through her silvery strands of hair. I know, it's like being under a waterfall. The two alien women stood there, enjoying the experience in silence for a few moments. For them, this was not just a new way of cleaning. It was a glimpse into the everyday life of humans. It made them feel more connected to Earth and its people, as if they were truly beginning to understand what made humans unique. Emma smiled as she watched them. I'm glad you're enjoying it. It's funny how something so normal for us can be so new and exciting for someone else. Nyx, always the playful one, grinned and splashed some water toward Lyra, who laughed and splashed back. Soon, the two of them were giggling and playing like children in the shower, the seriousness of their mission momentarily forgotten. For a brief time, they weren't alien visitors on an exchange program. They were just two friends discovering something new together. After a while, Nyx reached for the handle and turned off the water. I could stay in there forever, she said with a contented sigh. Lyra nodded in agreement. I see why humans enjoy this so much. Emma handed them towels and showed them how to dry off. As they stepped out of the shower and wrapped themselves in the soft fabric, Nyx looked thoughtful. It's interesting how humans use water for so many things. Drinking, cooking, cleaning. It's an essential part of their lives. Lyra, still drying her hair, added, and yet, on Zeria, we take water for granted. We have so much of it, but we don't use it the same way. Emma smiled as she led them back to the living room. That's one of the amazing things about cultural exchange. You get to see how different species live and learn from each other. It's what makes this whole experience special. As they sat down, wrapped in towels, Nix grinned at Emma. "So, what's next on the list of human experiences?" Emma laughed. "Well, how about we start with something simple? Maybe a nice Earth meal." Lyra and Nix exchanged glances, their curiosity piqued once again. "Food?" Lyra asked, raising an eyebrow. "Now that sounds like an adventure." Emma nodded enthusiastically. "I'll make something light for you to try. Every planet has its own unique flavors and textures, but I think you'll find Earth's cuisine to be full of surprises." As Emma headed into the kitchen, Lyra leaned over to Nix. "This exchange is turning out to be more interesting than I expected." Nix nodded, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "If Earth has more surprises like that shower, I can't wait to see what comes next." The culture shock. The next morning, Lyra and Nix woke up feeling refreshed and curious about what else Earth had to offer. After their first experience with Earth's food, they were eager to learn more about human life. Emma had promised to show them around the city and introduce them to the various aspects of Earth culture, and the two alien women were excited, but also a little apprehensive. They dressed in more Earth clothes that Emma had left for them, and stepped out of the guest room to find Emma waiting for them in the living room. The sun was shining brightly outside, casting a warm glow across the room. "Good morning." Emma greeted them cheerfully. "Ready for a day of exploring?" Nix grinned. "After yesterday's dinner, absolutely." Lyra nodded, though she felt a bit more reserved. "I'm curious to see what else this planet has to offer." Emma led them outside and into the bustling city streets. The city was alive with activity, humans going about their daily routines, vehicles moving up and down the streets, and the sounds of conversation and laughter all around. For Lyra and Nix, it was a sensory overload. They had seen busy cities before, but nothing quite like this. The air was filled with different scents, street food being cooked, the crisp smell of morning air, and the faint fragrance of flowers from nearby parks. Everywhere they looked, there was something new to take in. Towering buildings, bright signs, and people from all walks of life. As they walked, Emma explained various aspects of human culture. She pointed out different shops, parks, and public spaces, explaining how humans like to spend their time. Lyra and Nix listened intently, fascinated by the diversity and complexity of human life. At one point, they stopped at a coffee shop. Emma ordered drinks for the three of them, and they sat at a small table outside, watching people pass by. Lyra and Nix cautiously sipped their drinks. Lyra had a tea while Nix, always more adventurous, had chosen a coffee. Nix made a face as she tasted the coffee. "It's bitter," she said, her nose wrinkling. Emma laughed. "Yeah, coffee's an acquired taste, but it gives you energy, which is why so many humans drink it." Lyra took a small sip of her tea, finding it more to her liking. She watched as a group of humans walked by, chatting and laughing together. It reminded her of home in some ways, but there was something different here, something that made Earth feel unique. "Humans seem so vibrant," Lyra observed. "There's a kind of energy here that I didn't expect." Emma nodded. "That's one way to put it. We humans are definitely full of life. We may not be the strongest species in the galaxy, but we've built our culture around creativity, innovation, and connection." Nix set down her cup, her eyes scanning the city. "There's so much variety here. Everyone seems to have their own style, their own way of living. It's a little overwhelming." "That's Earth for you," Emma replied with a smile. "We're a melting pot of cultures, ideas, and traditions. You'll see even more differences as we explore." As they continued walking, Emma led them through a marketplace filled with stalls selling everything from fresh produce to handmade crafts. The colors were bright, the smells enticing, and the sounds of vendors calling out their wares filled the air. Lyra and Nix were captivated. They stopped at one stall that sold jewelry, admiring the intricate designs. The vendor smiled at them and offered them to try on a few pieces. Lyra hesitated, but Nyx eagerly picked up a bracelet and slipped it onto her wrist. It sparkled in the sunlight, catching her attention. "This is beautiful," Nyx said, her voice full of awe. "How do humans make such things?" Emma smiled, watching her friends experience Earth in their own way. "We have a lot of artisans and craftspeople who dedicate their lives to creating beauty. It's part of who we are, expressing ourselves through art, design, and creation." Lyra picked up a necklace, running her fingers over the smooth metal. "There's so much care put into these things. It feels like more than just an object. There's meaning behind it." "Exactly," Emma agreed. "That's what makes it special." As the day went on, Lyra and Nyx continued to absorb the sights and sounds of the city. They saw street performers playing music, artists painting murals, and people dancing in a public square. Each new experience showed them a different side of human culture, and they found themselves growing more and more intrigued. By the time they returned to Emma's apartment in the evening, both Lyra and Nyx were exhausted but exhilarated. They had seen so much in one day, so many new things that it felt like their minds were buzzing with information. As they sat down in the living room, Emma smiled at them. "So, what do you think? How does Earth compare to what you expected?" Lyra leaned back in her chair, a thoughtful expression on her face. "It's different. I didn't expect humans to be so creative. There's a depth to your culture that I didn't anticipate." Nyx grinned, still wearing the bracelet she had picked up at the market. "I have to admit, I'm impressed. Earth isn't just a backwater planet. It's full of life and energy. I can see why you're so proud of it." Emma nodded, pleased with their reactions. "I'm glad you're enjoying your time here. There's so much more to see and experience. You've only just scratched the surface." Lyra smiled softly, her heart warming to the planet she had once seen as insignificant. "I think I'm starting to understand why humans love their world so much. It's not just about the technology or the achievements. It's about the little things. The culture, the people, the way of life. Earth really is something special." Nyx nodded in agreement. "Yeah, and I'm excited to see what else this planet has to offer." As the sun set outside, casting a warm orange glow over the city, the two aliens found themselves feeling more connected to Earth than ever before. They had come to the planet as outsiders, but now they were starting to feel like they were becoming a part of it, part of the vibrant, creative, and ever-changing world that was Earth. The unplanned adventure. The next morning, Lyra and Nyx were woken up by a strange noise outside Emma's apartment. It was a constant, distant hum, growing louder by the second. They exchanged curious looks before heading to the window to see what was happening. "What's that?" Nyx asked, peeking outside. Lyra squinted, trying to make sense of the scene below. The streets were unusually crowded, filled with people moving in a hurry, their expressions a mix of excitement and concern. Hovering above the city skyline was an enormous, sleek aircraft. Its metallic surface reflected the morning sunlight, and its design was unlike anything either of them had seen before. Emma, who had just entered the room, smiled at their wide-eyed expressions. "Ah, that's one of our new spaceports. It's meant for travelers from other planets. Looks like we're getting visitors today." Lyra's brow furrowed. "Visitors? From other worlds? Here on Earth?" "Yeah," Emma confirmed. "Earth has become more connected to the rest of the galaxy in recent years. We're getting all kinds of alien tourists and traders. Today must be some kind of special event." Nyx looked intrigued. "Do you think we could go see it up close?" Emma laughed. "I was about to suggest that. How about we head to the spaceport and check it out?" Within minutes, the trio was out the door and on their way toward the bustling spaceport. As they approached, the crowds grew thicker, and the hum of the ship above them became a loud roar. The ship was landing, its engine slowing to a low hum as it gracefully touched down on the ground. The spaceport itself was a marvel of human engineering. It was a massive structure, towering over the surrounding buildings, with sleek lines and modern architecture that made it look futuristic even to Lyra and Nyx, who were used to advanced alien technology. As they reached the spaceport entrance, Emma waved her ID badge to gain access to the VIP viewing area. From there, they had a perfect view of the ship as it began to open its doors. A ramp extended, and moments later, a group of alien diplomats stepped out, accompanied by their human counterparts. The alien visitors were unlike anything Lyra and Nyx had ever seen. They were tall, with shimmering, iridescent skin that seemed to change color with every movement. Their eyes were large and bright, and they moved with a grace that was almost otherworldly. The crowd was in awe, watching with curiosity as the aliens exchanged greetings with the humans. "Those are the Zanari," Emma explained. "They're one of the more advanced species we've made contact with recently. They're here for trade negotiations." Lyra and Nyx stared at the Zanari with fascination. Despite having traveled through space themselves, they had never encountered a species like this. There was something almost ethereal about the Zanari, something that made them feel both familiar and alien at the same time. As the Zanari and humans continued their introductions, Emma led Lyra and Nyx through the spaceport, showing them around the various sections. There were shops selling goods from across the galaxy, restaurants offering exotic foods, and even entertainment venues featuring performances from alien artists. Earth has become a bit of a hub for intergalactic trade, Emma explained as they passed a shop filled with shimmering crystals from a distant planet. "We're still new to this, but we've come a long way in a short time." Nyx grinned as she examined a display of alien gadgets. "Humans really are surprising. You've managed to integrate yourselves into the wider galaxy so quickly." Lyra nodded in agreement, her mind racing with thoughts. "I never would have imagined Earth becoming such an important part of the galaxy. It's impressive." Emma smiled, but before she could respond, a sudden loud noise filled the air. A sharp, alarming sound that made the crowd pause. It was a warning siren, echoing throughout the spaceport. The atmosphere shifted instantly, from excitement to tension. "What's happening?" Lyra asked, her voice tinged with concern. Emma frowned, looking around. "I'm not sure. That's the emergency alert system. Something must be wrong." As if to confirm her suspicions, a voice came over the loudspeakers. "Attention, all visitors. The spaceport is now in lockdown. Please remain calm and follow the instructions of security personnel." Lyra and Nyx exchanged worried glances as security officers began moving through the crowd, directing people to designated safe areas. The Zanari diplomats were quickly escorted away by their human counterparts, disappearing into a secured section of the spaceport. Emma pulled her friends closer, her expression serious. "We need to get out of here now." They quickly followed the flow of the crowd, heading toward the nearest exit. But before they could reach it, a group of armed figures appeared in the distance, blocking the way. They wore dark uniforms, their faces concealed by helmets, and they carried weapons that looked far more advanced than anything Lyra or Nyx had seen before. "Who are they?" Nyx whispered, her heart pounding in her chest. Emma's face hardened. "Trouble." The armed figures began moving through the crowd, their intentions unclear but their presence intimidating. The spaceport security tried to intervene, but they were quickly overpowered by the mysterious attackers. Lyra, Nyx, and Emma were forced to take cover behind a row of crates, watching as chaos unfolded around them. The once lively and bustling spaceport was now a scene of panic and confusion. "What do we do?" Lyra asked, her voice tense. Emma glanced around, assessing the situation. "We need to find a way out of here fast. If we can reach the other side of the spaceport, there's an emergency exit that leads to a secure area." Nyx nodded, her eyes narrowed in determination. "Let's move." With Emma leading the way, the trio carefully made their way through the spaceport, dodging the armed figures and trying to stay out of sight. It was a tense and dangerous journey, but they remained focused, driven by their need to escape the growing danger. As they neared the emergency exit, They could hear the sound of footsteps approaching. The attackers were getting closer. Lyra's heart raced, her mind filled with fear and uncertainty. But Emma remained calm, guiding them through the chaos with steady hands and quick thinking. Finally, they reached the exit, slipping through the door just as the attackers closed in. They found themselves in a dimly lit corridor, far from the chaos of the spaceport. Emma quickly locked the door behind them, taking a deep breath. "That was too close," she muttered. Nyx nodded, still catching her breath. "What just happened back there?" Emma shook her head. "I don't know, but we need to stay alert. Whatever this is, it's far from over." As they stood in the quiet corridor, Lyra couldn't help but feel a sense of foreboding. Something bigger was at play here, something that went beyond a simple attack on the spaceport. And whatever it was, they were now caught in the middle of it. Dangerous revelation. Lyra, Nyx, and Emma cautiously made their way down the dimly lit corridor, the faint sounds of chaos from the spaceport still echoing behind them. The adrenaline was still pumping through their veins, and though they had escaped immediate danger, the threat felt far from over. Lyra felt a surge of adrenaline as she surveyed the scene. They had to act quickly. "Let's help them," Nyx said, her eyes gleaming with determination. The three of them charged into the fray, joining the guards in the fight against the attackers. Despite their lack of heavy weaponry, they fought with everything they had, using the element of surprise to their advantage. The battle was intense, but with their combined efforts, they managed to drive the attackers back, forcing them to retreat for the time being. Breathing heavily, Lyra, Nyx, and Emma stood among the wreckage of the battle, their hearts pounding in their chests. The Zenari diplomats emerged from their secured chambers, their expressions a mix of gratitude and fear. "Thank you," one of the Zenari said, their voice calm but laced with urgency. "We need to leave immediately. This attack is far from over." Lyra nodded, wiping the sweat from her brow. "We'll get you to safety. But we need to know, why are they after you?" The Zenari diplomat looked at her with eyes that seemed to shimmer with an otherworldly glow. "There are secrets we carry, knowledge that could change everything. But for now, all you need to know is that if we fall into their hands, the balance of power in the galaxy will shift. Permanently." The final stand. The tension in the air was palpable as Lyra, Nyx, Emma, and the Zenari diplomats made their way through the chaotic halls of the spaceport. The walls bore the marks of recent battle, scorch marks from laser fire, and debris from destroyed equipment. The once bustling spaceport had become a war zone. Every step they took toward the evacuation point felt like a step deeper into danger. Lyra's heart raced, her senses on high alert. She could hear distant echoes of gunfire and explosions from different parts of the station. The attackers weren't letting up. If anything, they were getting closer, more aggressive. "We're running out of time," Emma muttered under her breath, glancing down at her handheld device. "The enemy forces are converging on the evacuation point. We're going to have to fight our way through." Nyx tightened her grip on the makeshift weapon she had picked up during their escape. "Then we fight. We've come this far. We're not going to let them stop us now." The Zenari diplomats, although calm and composed, were clearly shaken. Their usual serene expressions were tinged with worry, and they stayed close to Lyra and the others as they pressed on. They had entrusted their safety to this small group of defenders, and they could only hope their trust wasn't misplaced. As they approached the final corridor leading to the evacuation shuttle bay, the group came to an abrupt halt. Standing between them and the shuttle were a squad of attackers, armored, heavily armed, and ready for a fight. It was clear that the attackers weren't just some disorganized group. They were well-trained soldiers, and they had no intention of letting the Zenari leave alive. Emma scanned the room quickly, looking for any possible advantage. Her mind raced through various tactics, trying to find a way to overcome the enemy. "We need to split their focus," she whispered. "Lyra, Nyx, you take the left flank. I'll draw their attention from the right. The Zenari will stay back until it's safe." Lyra nodded in agreement. Got it. Let's end this. Without wasting another moment, the group sprang into action. Lyra and Nyx darted to the left, moving swiftly behind cover as the attackers opened fire. Laser shots zipped past them, lighting up the darkened corridor with flashes of bright light. Emma, true to her word, provided a distraction from the right side, firing at the attackers to keep their attention divided. The battle was fierce, and the air filled with the sounds of gunfire, shouting, and explosions. Lyra's muscles burned with exertion as she fought. Her mind focused on one thing: keeping the Zenari safe. She moved with precision, dodging incoming fire and returning shots with deadly accuracy. Nyx was by her side, using her agility and combat skills to outmaneuver the enemy. Together, they made a formidable team. But the attackers weren't giving up easily. They were relentless, pushing forward with brute force and sheer numbers. It seemed like for every enemy they took down, 2 more took their place. Emma, Lyra shouted over the noise, "We can't hold them off forever."